6:48, if you were just joining us this morning, some sad news to report. Luther died last night at the age of 92. That's his employer, WDEF Radio's reporting that Luther had been on the radio and television in Chattanooga for more than 70 years. Our condolences go out to his wife, his family, and we couldn't think of a better person to be on the line right now with us, Dan Kennedy, than David Carroll, who David's relationship with Luther was tremendous. I mean, it's something that we should all have strive to have such a relationship.
Professional and personal. David, good morning to you. I know it's tough for you waking up to this news. You were a close friend of Luther, and just talk about your friendship with him and how you'll remember him.
Well, you know, certainly the biggest influence I've ever had in my life and career, and it's sad news for the whole city. I called him the man with sunshine in his voice because let me do the math here, going on 74 years, you know, he's the guy that this city woke up to each morning. And I'm watching and seeing the video of Luther being inducted into the National Radio Hall of Fame, which was just a great event for all of us. But yeah, it's, you know, I got to admit, it's very hard to digest that news this morning. I think we all thought he'd be with us forever.
And David, you were so good to Luther, and you always included him on book signings, especially with your book about the TV, radio, and the television industry here in town. And you've got some wonderful stories just to sit and listen to you tell stories about Luther, his sense of humor, your conversations you had driving him back and forth to some of these book signings. They are just, it's priceless what you experience with this man.
I was so fortunate. I worked at Channel 12 for a while back in the 80s, and so I got to work with him every day for a few years. And, you know, just working with the guy that my parents essentially grew up listening to, that gives you an idea of his longevity. That was just a wonderful thing at that time, getting to know him, and in fact having him out to my house in Alabama at the time for dinner with my parents. I mean, they felt like that you know, we were in the company of royalty. But you know, Luther never looked at himself that way. Even though he was recognized everywhere he went, he was never too good to talk to his listeners. He was always happy to pose for pictures and sign autographs and hug babies. And I guess the other thing that folks may not know is just how generous he was. There were so many instances where I saw him help people and didn't ask or seek recognition for it. People have stories of how he, you know, did little random acts of kindness, buy them lunches, whatever they needed. He's just an all-around great guy.
92 years old. David, you mentioned 74 plus years on the radio. He covered Pearl Harbor live. He covered September 11th live. It seems to me he never really slowed down, right? I mean, he even had a roast as late as August of this year. Yeah,
and the really neat thing about it, in the last few years especially, Luther really enjoyed getting out seeing people. I'll tell you, there was a time in his career when he was so busy he didn't do a lot of personal appearances and speeches. And these last few years, I really felt like he enjoyed getting out, doing public appearances, and you know, I think he enjoyed people coming up telling him how much they loved him and appreciated him for finding their dog, or you know, waking him up all these years. I called it sort of a victory lap. You know, I mean, he had nothing else left to prove, and I think he really enjoyed all the nice things people said. It was fun watching him react to folks like that.
David, I know you'll have a tremendous obit for Luther tonight, and I just appreciate your call. And David, you're a great colleague, and most importantly, you are a wonderful friend to Luther, who died at the age of 92.
Well, just one of thousands or millions. I have no idea how many people he touched, but certainly he deserves all the credit and honor we can give him today, Jed and Dan. Thank you.
Our thoughts, of course, go out to the Channel 12 family and to WDEF Radio. Luther, you will be missed.